Welcome to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that puts you right in the heart of women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and each week I'm on a mission to showcase the incredible women who are lighting up the ice across the globe. Get ready as I chat with rising stars, seasoned pros, and all the game changers making waves in the world of women's hockey that you won't find anywhere else. So, let's dive into the exciting world of women's hockey and make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. And welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, your go-to podcast for everything women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I am thrilled to be joined by the one and only Sid Bard, a defender with the Boston fleet of the PWHL. Sid, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the introduction.
Absolutely, yes. And like I said, I'm very thrilled to have you on the show today. And it feels like the right place to start, since we're starting this show, is how it started for you. So walk us through what it was about hockey that you fell in love with and maybe some of your earliest memories.
Yeah, honestly, it was definitely a family game. So I have two older brothers, and we grew up in upstate New York, in New Hartford, actually near Utica. And they were super into sports. My parents didn't necessarily play hockey, but they were very involved with sports growing up themselves. So I think that was a pretty big thing for us and our family. And being from upstate New York, hockey is a big thing to get into. So they kind of threw my brothers in skates, and I would follow them to the rink. And I think they got annoyed with me in the stand, just kind of bugging them and wanting to get on myself. So yeah, I started learn to skate just because my brothers played, and yeah, never looked back since.
I'm so glad that you brought up New Hartford, because I want to know, we're kind of going to go look back and then we're going to look forward here as well. But what was the scene like there when it comes to hockey? And let's maybe talk specifically about women's hockey when you first started, and contrast that to now, especially with the PWHL and sort of the more exposure that women's hockey is getting.
Yeah, so women's hockey, there honestly wasn't really a big conversation when I was young, and I grew up playing boys hockey. So we had our youth teams, and that was a mix of boys and girls, but honestly, I think I was the only girl on my New Hartford youth team growing up, from learn to skate to about mites, I would say. And then I ended up going to Syracuse, which is about an hour away, also in upstate New York, and played there, but also with the boys side. So honestly, there wasn't a ton of women's hockey. I wasn't really exposed to a lot, only, the US and Canada teams, and just seeing that whenever they got the chance to meet up and play each other was kind of my only exposure to women's hockey. And being from upstate New York, there wasn't a ton. It was more so you just play to play. And I had teammates who are all boys, and that's just kind of how I was raised knowing. And so looking at it now, I would say they have a lot of different programs. Very fortunate to see that and see it grow, especially in the Utica area with the new Nexus Center, which held Worlds last year, the World Championships. So that's a really good facility to have to kind of bring women's and young girls there to play. Some programs in Syracuse as well, and Rochester. And so, yeah, I've definitely seen a big growth with that. But it was after I left.
And for you personally, going through that experience, and obviously, again, not having the opportunity to play on girls' teams growing up and having to, deal with having to play on boys' teams consistently, what did you learn? Do you remember what you learned about yourself during that period of time, both obviously as a hockey player, which seems like an easier answer, but like as a person as well, like how much growth you went through being stuck on all these boys' teams all those years?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it was a cool experience for sure. I think a lot of girls that you see now in the pros have a background playing girl or boys hockey, excuse me, just because that was the only thing that was available to them. So I think, I didn't learn a whole lot till now. Just like looking back, I think one of the big takeaways would just be the speed and the physicality when we got to those ages. Obviously, boys were getting bigger and stronger before, girls necessarily do. And just being exposed to that and learning how to move my feet more. And I played checking for 2 years with the boys and just, making high skilled plays and not trying to get hit by the boys, I think has helped me honestly now in hindsight, knowing that the women's league has checking and hitting and physicality is like a big part of that. So yeah, just being always aware, always trying to make a fast, quick decision, I think has helped my game tremendously looking back, just playing with the boys and stuff. Um, yeah, that's probably a really big takeaway just from on the ice and off the ice. Honestly, like I grew up with brothers, like I said, it's just, just being a good teammate, and it didn't really matter, gender or anything. It was just like learning from your friends and the people around you and learning how to, communicate with them and play with them. It was just a really cool experience. I have some friends from there. But yeah, definitely really fun.
Yeah, so you bring up a really great point, and again, we're kind of looking now and kind of reflecting as well. But having that foundation, as you've mentioned, specifically around the physicality, growing up and being around that sort of the physical side of the sport, and then not having it, throughout your collegiate career, your later on in your life, and then into your collegiate career. How excited were you? We're going to get into the PWHL more specifically in a moment, but how exciting or excited were you to see that be a part of a game that was a part of your foundation?
Yeah, it was definitely really exciting when I first found out that, the PWHL, that was one of the main things they wanted to bring in for the first year of the league was the hitting. And I think you play the game a different way when there is hitting involved. It's a different style. There is still the finesse and the skilled plays, but there's like subtle skills that are within that, and learning how to take hits and absorb, and especially being a defenseman, are things that you just subconsciously learn throughout playing boys hockey that I somehow had in my toolbox, and luckily, was exposed to that and can bring to this level now. Not putting yourself in dangerous situations, I think, is a big part, and something that we're still learning and growing at the pro level as well. Is everyone comes from a different background of that physicality, and so they come to the league, and you're trying to minimize people getting injured and hurt and everything like that. So I think that was very key for me, especially being a smaller player, is learning how to put yourself in a good situation to not get necessarily injured, but also good situations on the ice where you can be around the puck and not expose your body to getting pinned and getting taken out of the play, and just making smarter decisions with the puck.
Nice, yeah, and as we look at continuing to reflect on your junior career, before we get into your collegiate career, and then obviously now with the Boston Fleet. Something that I found out about you that was really, really intriguing, was that not only did you win 2 state championships while you were in high school, you were also named MVP, but you did so not in the position that we would have expected you to be in. You were a forward at that point.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder what he's gonna say. Yes, yeah, no, I actually was a forward. So when I played boys hockey as a defenseman, grew up, I went to Bishop Kearney at Selects Academy for the first 2 years. And that's when, honestly, that was my first switch from boys to girls. And that's when I went from D to forward. And my coach there said, okay, like just a little smaller player, you're pretty fast. So why not see how you do at forward at the girls level? So I stayed with that, honestly, there for 2 years, and then also was a forward up with the Toronto Arrows in their league. And then, yeah, I got recruited to Colgate as a forward too, and played, I think, 3 or 4 months as a forward in my freshman year. So yeah, kind of crazy how I ended up being a forward and then switching back to D. But yeah, kind of interesting.
Yeah, and especially because it wasn't just like you played forward. It's like you were actually a really good forward,
Thank you.
but you, like you said, you didn't start off as a forward. You went D forward back to D, right? How was that transition for you? And do you, just between you and I, do you ever kind of say, I wish I was still a forward?
I say that all the time. We do drills sometimes that are like, 4D and they get pretty tough. And I'm like, oh, I wish I was a forward today, But yeah, it definitely was. I think it's helped my overall game just being in different positions and coming from defense. I kind of knew where I wanted necessarily the forwards to be in the D zone, or like I had a good D sense from just playing defense my whole life. And then switching to forward, I kind of was defensive oriented in that way, just having that experience. And, I bounced around winger center and just having that, those experiences before, I think definitely helped me in being a dynamic, like all round player and not necessarily focusing on, okay, I'm a forward, I need to score, need to put up points. It was more so just trying to do the little things and knowing from when I played defense that what I was looking for in the forwards or the, like breakouts and stuff like that. So it definitely helped my game. And then yeah, I think the girls game, obviously there is no hitting in the collegiate level and stuff like that, but definitely fast paced. And I think, yeah, just being a quick player, it helped me at the forward level, I think.
And especially the jump to your collegiate career, as you had mentioned, you were recruited as a forward, but then transitioned into a defender. What was that like? Because it's one thing, not with when you're looking at, especially a program like Colgate. Any program in the NCAA is obviously going to be incredible, but Colgate is one of those, incredible programs there. What was that like for you, and how did that feel to kind of, go? You were recruited there, and now they're asking you to do something
Yeah.
that, yes, you've done throughout your career, but you haven't done for an extended period of time.
Yeah, so back then, my freshman year, we honestly didn't carry a big roster and we never really had scratches. So one of our defensemen actually got hurt and had a season ending injury. So we were down to 5D. And so they were like, okay, Sid, you have background in playing defense. Let's just see like one practice. Like we just started day by day and they were like, okay, let's just see what you got. And I guess they liked what they saw. And I was really lucky to be with a really smart, dependable defensive partner who was a senior at the time and kind of taught me just, because I only played defense when I was really young. So kind of transitioning that and learning what I knew at that level and as a forward at the collegiate level, but now being a defenseman at the collegiate level, she was definitely a rock for me and just making me feel comfortable, and was kind of a stay-at-home defenseman. So I learned from her just like positioning and all that. But she definitely smoothed the transition process, and I had really supportive teammates that were just like, okay, like you do your thing and we're going to support you. And I just kind of took it as like, okay, my teammates need me to be in this position and I'm going to do the best I can at it. And my coaches liked it, so they kept me there. And yeah, I haven't kind of looked back since.
Well, talk about being a good teammate. Step into those skates. That wouldn't
Definitely
necessarily.
scary though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I want to know, and this is often a theme, but I want to know when you made that transition. Yes, obviously it was, challenging, to adjust to the style of play that is collegiate hockey, especially because you weren't necessarily going in with that mindset that you were going to be a defender.
Yeah.
But what did that show or tell you about you, Sid Bard, that you were able to do that?
Yeah, I think it definitely just gave me a little bit of confidence, and especially freshmen coming in, you kind of don't really know what to expect and don't really have a ton of confidence coming in because everything is just happening so fast, and school and like life and adjusting to being away from home. And so I think just knowing that my coaches trusted me and my teammates trusted me to be put in that position, I think it just gave me a little bit of a boost. Like, okay, I'm here, just be yourself and play your game. Like, you have the instincts to be at this level. And I think that's something even now, like when I get in my head is when I'm not playing my best. And a lot of players will say that, but yeah, just going back to your instincts. And I think that just gave me the little confidence that I needed to just be like, okay, take a deep breath. You're here, you're 3 or 4 months into your college career, and like you have so much time ahead of you that, take a deep breath and be where your feet are. And that was a message, honestly, that our coaches at Colgate, we had this "we play free" hashtag that was really big to our it was our mantra for, my whole career there. And I think I was able to use that. And this was just like a little example of that.
You are not the first person that has said to me the exact, like, be where your feet are.
Yeah, no, I think it's so important and so huge for, as you keep progressing in each level, as you keep going in hockey and in sports and in life. It's just like, I personally, whenever I get in my head and whenever I'm just, thinking too much, or, oh, I should have made this play, I should have done this. And, there's so much going on in hockey, and a lot is, especially as a defenseman, you see everything and so much is coming at you. It's just like, okay, make the simple play, or just think, move your feet, you got it, kind of let your instincts kick in. Like, I always play so much better when I'm like that. But yeah, I think because it gets so fast at each level that you continue to grow, it's very important.
And speaking of different levels, you've also had the opportunity to represent your country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what did it feel like to put on that jersey for the first time? What did that mean to you?
Yeah, that's definitely, I was lucky enough to be in the program for under 18. So that was kind of my first exposure to it. And there's no other feeling like it. Honestly, it's just, everyone says how much of an honor it is. And you don't really know that feeling until obviously you're in their shoes and you're doing it. And just even at that level, you're playing for something bigger than yourself. And that was always something that, USA Hockey, that was our thing. Is like, you put this jersey on to represent everyone that came before you, the people in your room, and also the people that are going to be coming in and stepping in those shoes. And yeah, it just, every chance that I get to be able to put a jersey on, whether it's that level or rivalry, or even if I never get a chance again, it's just like, you can't take it for granted because it's so important and it's so precious, So yeah, definitely lucky that I got the chance to do that.
Well, and do you think that it meant, I mean, did it mean more? It's obviously, like you said, it's a tremendous honor. But do you think there's an added honor because at that point, when you put that jersey on, when you were looking forward into your career, that was really, there wasn't the PWHL, right? So it was either
Yeah.
you would play internationally, so you would play, or rather you would play abroad in Europe and the SDHL
Hmm.
or something like that, or you would end up waiting for an opportunity to represent your country. Do you think that it kind of
Yeah.
added a little bit of value when looking at
Hmm.
it through that lens?
Yeah, I think one side definitely, because like I mentioned, kind of how we started off the show, that was, the only thing I was really exposed to was women's hockey. Was that it was US versus Canada rivalry, how big it is to both countries. Every time that they got to put the jerseys on, you saw how much passion they had. But that was like the only thing. Obviously there were some pro leagues here and there, but when I was really young, there was nothing. So that was the pinnacle. That was what you needed to reach to kind of fulfill your dreams or follow your dreams. And so, yeah, so I think on one side to finally hit that and be like, wow, this is what I dreamt of and like wrote about when I was in third grade for like school projects, all the typical stuff. Definitely is crazy. But on the other side, it's just every time, even now with having a women's league too, and lucky enough to be playing pro, it still means so much just because of, the blood, sweat, and tears that people put in before to make it so big. And now, everyone across the world knows how big these tournaments are in worlds. And yeah, so every time that I get to put the jersey on, I think it's kind of twofold. Like, I'm proud to be in this position because of my younger self, but also it still means so much.
Of course, yeah. And before we dive into the PWHL, I do want to kind of give you the opportunity to reflect on your collegiate career. What were some of the biggest takeaways that you learned about your game, your style of play, but also like the growth that you go throughout your collegiate career? Often that's a part where you're as an athlete, you're thinking, it's always sports, hockey. You don't necessarily think about the growth that you went through personally through that time. So what was that experience like for you going to Colgate?
Yeah, one of the big reasons I picked Colgate was just because of how, well balanced they had with their sports and athletics, but also how much they pride themselves in their academics. Like, it was definitely a really good school to go to and kind of a learning curve for me just from the academic side. But I knew just like having a degree from there would kind of set me up for whatever I wanted to do after. And I went into college not really knowing, my major and all that stuff. But yeah, from that aspect, I think I'm very lucky to have graduated from there and had an extra year, had a fifth year, and kind of be exposed to all these different, being a liberal arts school, having all these different classes and subjects and learning about new things and kind of opening my mind has been huge. And I'm really into nutrition, so that kind of drove, some of my passions as well, not only as a hockey player, but as a person, which is really fun and really cool to think back. But also the hockey side, I think Greg Fargo came in, I think he was there 13 or 14 years. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me, but he came in and kind of flipped that program around and made it one of the best programs in collegiate hockey, as you're seeing firsthand right now with, Colgate being in the semifinals for the ECAC and making NCAA appearances. And so that I just kind of saw a shift when I first got there to my end of my career, which was really, really special to be a part of. And my class that came in that were with me for 5 years, we went through so much together. And we were, a group that as freshmen, we had no idea what it was going to be like when we graduated, and just so lucky to be around those girls and have a bunch who now play in the PWHL as well. Really, really lucky to be there and have had 5 years there.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Fargo in just a moment, but it feels like we should probably start with a really big moment in your hockey career, being drafted. So when you look back on being drafted, it wasn't even that long ago that you have to look back on it. Take us back to that moment. How did, what was running through your mind? How did it feel? What was that experience like, knowing that after all of these years of not having a professional league, now you're drafted?
Yeah.
You're 22nd overall, you were drafted.
Yeah. I tell the story a lot. It was just, so I was roommates with Allie Simpson, who's now on the Sirens, and we were best friends. And we kind of, at Colgate got closer. And as we were getting close to graduating, we would be sitting in our apartment in the living room watching PWHL games. And we're like, oh my God, I can't believe that this could hopefully be us one day. The draft is coming up soon. That was our aspirations. But being able to see the product is so important, and it kind of drove us to kind of finish out the year and the last little bit with Colgate, do the best that we could for, our team, but also this is a crazy journey that we now can have a next step with. So that was crazy, just to be able to sit there and watch some games and know that, okay, the draft is coming up. This is not so crazy to think that we could potentially be playing here and have an opportunity. So just the leading up to it, I think, was just more so getting used to this could be our life. And then draft day was kind of nuts. You go into it having the chance to talk to some GMs and having conversations, but obviously you have no clue what's going to happen on draft night. Any pick could happen. You don't know necessarily where you're gonna fall. Like you read things before, but you don't really, you kind of like tune out the noise and you don't really know what pick you're gonna be. So I honestly was there with my family, just hoping for a good night, that I'd hear my name at some point. Didn't really have, high expectations, and just being there in person, I think was so special. And I still have I'm looking at my draft day puck on my over by my TV right now as we speak. Like I still have things from that day that like bring me back to that moment, and it's like this is just the start of something new. And yeah, it was stressful. Like the day leading up, it wasn't until I think like 5 or 6 p.m. So just kind of not wanting to eat and just hanging out. Like I saw Allie, we got some coffee, like just kind of talking about all the what ifs and the hypotheticals. And then luckily, yeah, I got picked by Boston, and yeah, it was just one of the best days, one of the best feelings. And you're kind of just thrown into it, meeting all these new people. And it's pretty cool to go through it with girls who you've played against in your collegiate career, and then see, everyone just at the same banquet and wanting the same things. Like these are, again, things that we didn't think were ever possible growing up. And now just kind of going through that with them is really, really cool.
And how did it feel to be able to do that, as you mentioned, with your family there too? Like in person,
Yeah.
you were there, and like what did it mean, especially because they've been there for you throughout this journey in hockey?
Yeah, it meant everything. And honestly, I think they were a little more nervous than me on draft day. Like every pick, they're like, "Are you okay? You're okay." I'm like, "I'm doing fine. Like I'm just hanging out. You guys are the ones who are like stressing me." No, but the fact that they were there meant everything. And honestly, my parents are the biggest reasons why I'm here today. Just growing up in a small town and making the sacrifices of, letting me go to boarding school at such a young age, and living in Canada as like a US citizen. That was crazy that my parents let me do that and bill it up there for a year. But all the little sacrifices added up to that moment. So just to be with them and kind of see that come into fruition, I was like, that'll never get taken away from us, and kind of bonded us even more. And yeah, I love my parents. They come to a bunch of games in Boston too. So they were happy that, it's driving distance Boston from New Hartford. So they've been coming to a ton of games, and yeah, just loving it.
Yeah, and it's you mentioned that there are some physical things that you took away from that day, being like the puck, for example.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's equally, or even sometimes more valuable, the memories that you get from that kind of experience, especially
Exactly.
being able to do so with your family.
Definitely. Yeah.
We spoke about Fargo, your coach with Colgate, a moment ago, and I just, you mentioned the work that he's done with the program at Colgate for the duration of time that he was there. How great is it to see him finally getting that opportunity to coach in this league? And then also, what was it like to score your first goal against him?
Yeah. Yeah, he's an amazing coach. Like he is a huge reason why I'm the player I am today. And seeing him at the college level, and there's so much that goes into it. I think that people, just the normal fan, don't really know about, college coaches and the commitment they have, the time away from family, and just the travel and the recruiting and everything. So seeing him do that and being so successful, and then now being at the pro level, and obviously there's not recruiting going on, so he can just focus in, and he has such a love for the game and just loves being on the ice with the players and forming connections. Like I think he always was meant to be a pro coach, in my opinion. And I was so happy when I heard that he was the new head coach of the Sirens, and I thought, what a perfect fit for him and his family. And he brings so much expertise. Like I said, he kind of flipped Colgate's program around to be a national contender, and now like he's doing the same with the Sirens. They play a really dominant game, and physical one, and a structured one. Like he definitely has the systems in place that I think he's just perfect for the pro level. But yeah, and also to the goal scoring. That was kind of weird. Someone asked me in the media after how it felt, and I honestly just didn't even, it was so strange. Like, I forgot that he was the coach, you know, because you go up against the other team, you want to obviously beat them and put out your best product, and then not until you take a step back, you're like, oh, that was weird. That was my coach I was with for 5 years, like during the like craziest part of your life and your time. And just having him there was special, and seeing him after and stuff. But yeah, I didn't really think much of it in the moment, just not until after.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had a chance to connect with them afterwards and be like, hey, first one against you, no big deal.
Yes.
What was that conversation like?
Yeah, honestly, quick. I think he was on the phone or running they had to leave. So just, it was quick text after. He just said, sorry, I didn't really take the time to, connect, but he was definitely proud of me and has been so supportive in my career professionally too, even though we're on, different teams. At the end of the day, like, we have a special connection, and definitely grateful for that. So yeah.
Yeah, you can't take that collegiate connection away from anyone,
Yes.
regardless of who you score against.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to know, when you look back on your career, whether it's internationally, whether it's your collegiate career, whether it's even, even this year thus far, when you have the opportunity to play with the likes of players such as Hillary Knight, such as Megan Keller, such as Aaron Frankel, individuals who have really defined women's hockey, especially in the States, but everywhere, for as long as they have, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, like, these, again, being in those programs and them being, household names for so long, are women that I've looked up to for my whole life, and now to be in the same locker room as them means everything. I mean, they're such good people before even being, like, talking about being a hockey player. Just being around them every day and having the chance to just, form a friendship, and they're just incredible people, and seeing them be pros day in and day out is really inspiring, and wants me, it helps me want to be my best myself. And just being a rookie and learning from them, I think you can't have better mentors than them. And yeah, they are just, it's kind of, I pinch myself sometimes just being like, wow, I can't believe that I'm in the same room as them. But yeah, they're just such cool people, really down to earth, and the most humble that you could think of, and are such a huge cornerstone for our team and for the PWHL and the league. I think it's just, yeah, it's cool to watch firsthand.
Yeah, it must. I know that, like, the season, there's so much that happens throughout a season that it's sometimes you kind of forget that, like, you're sitting in the next stall from
exactly
this player, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to hear that kind of perspective, because it can just, like, things are just happening so fast. You kind of find yourself like having to pinch yourself to kind of slow down a little bit.
Exactly. And going back to what you said, just like being present, like, it's just like you said, everything happens so fast, and rookie year, and you're getting used to the league, but also playing with new players, and players who have families, or like, everyone's in a different stage of their life, and they've accomplished so many amazing things. Like, the list goes on, and then you just have to be like, okay, we're all here doing the same thing. We love hockey. We're all like, we have such a good locker room. We have such great people in it, and it makes it fun to go to the rink every day. You kind of just, you're brought back to when you kind of first fell in love with the game and the reasons why you do it. And then you take a step back and you're like, oh my God, these people are just like me and you. They're human, they're funny, they're fun, but they're also incredible, remarkable hockey players too.
And what I heard there as well is, again, going back to being where your feet are, right? Yeah, absolutely. I love
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
I love that. That's
that's something
theme.
I try to. Yes, yeah, especially just, I think, with how fast that this league is growing, and the publicity and the viewership, which has helped it grow so much from season 1 to season 2, and hopefully, talks of expansion, and just, it's a lot is thrown at you, especially being a professional athlete that you're not really used to. And yeah, just going back to, okay, this is just my life and just trying to be the best person I can and the best player and getting better every day. And yeah, the rest will take care of itself, but trying to just be where you are.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about that, especially being a rookie in this league. We're now just past the midway point of the second season, your first season, obviously. Um, how have you felt, the when it comes to the visibility of the women's game and maybe even more broadly, women in sports? And knowing that you're a part of that and you're really a part of that foundation. How does that feel and how has it been to be a part of this process?
Yeah, it's definitely a incredible honor to just be somewhat involved with, the growth of women's sports. And like you said, I think this year, especially the past few years, has been just the growth of all of women's sports in general, not only hockey, but with new leagues starting up, the lacrosse league, the, new soccer teams, new WNBA teams, and just seeing, these big deals being made and more people being interested and you having celebrities talk about, all of these leagues and stuff are coming to games, like having like the Seattle game, having Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe there, and just having so many big names supporting us. I think, yeah, just being a part of it is, I'm so lucky to be in this position. And you do it for the young girls and boys that are coming to your games, wanting a puck during warm-ups or just having those little small interactions, I think go a long way. And yeah, just trying to do whatever we can to show people that, this is a reality and it's only growing from here.
Being from New York, as we've mentioned,
Mhm.
what's it been like for you to almost like go to the other side and you're playing in Boston.
I
You were
know.
drafted by
I know.
Boston. You must have felt at the moment like obviously there's excitement and
Yes.
all of those things, but growing up in New York and now you're playing in front of those energetic fans in Boston,
I
what
know.
was that like for you and how long did that take to kind of adjust because you're cheering now
Yeah,
for the other team?
I know. It's so weird. Like I grew up my extended family, huge Yankees fans, and then our first gift for being drafted to Boston was a Red Sox hat. So I'm like, I didn't know if I should wear it in front of my family. I'm like, I have to because I'm like in Boston and this is my team. But I'm like, is this a disgrace to my family? Like, what's going on? But they were good sports about it. But yeah, the first time that I played in front of our Boston fans, I mean, they're so passionate. The Bruins, all these the Celtics, all these teams, they just bring a fiery passion that is it fuels you, like being in front of them and wanting to play for them. I think we, especially the Fleet, like we feed off their energy and we play pretty well at home. And I think we can rally in the third for them and, try to get points for them. But they're huge. They're kind of like our sixth or seventh player out there, And I think the first time it really sunk in was when I think for most of our games in the third, they'll start playing the song Shipping Up to Boston and they're screaming and I'm like, oh my god, like this is what you kind of dream of, like this is the fan base that you want. And so just seeing them at different events and everything, like they are so passionate, they love us and we love them just as much. Like they've been huge for us in growing our game in Boston and just kind of playing for them.
Yeah, and kind of just going piggybacking off of that a little bit as well. When we saw the Beanpot, for example, this year, over
Hmm.
13,000 record for the area,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And I've spoken
Hmm.
with players, and they were like, it was crazy to be on
Yeah.
the ice. You look up into the stands, and you're seeing like people still filling in the upper
Yeah.
bowl, and Boston is a really passionate um, city when it comes to sports, obviously.
Hmm.
But we're now also seeing that tremendously with the women's leagues, specifically, or women's hockey specifically. For you, maybe just talk a little bit about like I know that you're still newish to Boston, but
Hmm.
just even in this first season, seeing the growth of women's hockey with, for example, again the Beanpot. what
Mhm.
that's meant for you.
Mhm. I think it's just so inspiring, like, just to see the feedback of, giving women's sports a platform and them delivering and fans wanting to come and selling out arenas and being so supportive and just having, again, like, a love for the game and wanting, no matter who you are, just to perform and see that, and just kind of putting women up instead of putting us down. I think it's huge, especially because Boston is so into their sports. Um, they don't care, if you've been around for 40 years or you're new this year. And we've seen that with, the new lacrosse league or the new, I think in 2026, the new soccer team that's coming here. Like Boston seems to be part of like inaugural years for these women's sports. So I think it just makes me proud to be a part of this organization and in the city, and just being able to put this jersey on and have Boston in front of it. I think it's pretty special.
Nice. Yes. And I want to know, before we move on to the final segment of today's show, is what message you might have for those young girls who are either watching live. Hopefully they get to experience a game live. I've said it once and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, there has been no
Hmm.
sporting event I've ever been to that even comes close to the women's game.
I love that. I agree.
And I mean that, I do.
Yeah.
What message you might have for those young girls in the stands, or maybe watching from home, who are dreaming, who are finally able to see that they don't have to, go somewhere else. They can play professionally in the best league in the world here at home or closer to home. What message you might have for them, or what kind of inspirational, quote you might have for them as well, in terms of maybe motivating them to stick with it and to feel inspired about what their future might hold.
Yeah. I think I'm not inspirational at all, but I think like seeing is believing. And if you are having fun, like I had so much fun when I was younger playing. Like it was at the beginning, I didn't love it. And then I kind of turned a corner and was like, I just want to be on the ice all the time. And I think to those young girls who are aspiring to be at this level, it's just find the fun in it and be a good teammate. And if you are those things and you're enjoying it every day, there's no limit to what you can achieve. And I think it gets to be in this world, it gets to be so stressful and trying to figure out what college you want to go to. Am I going to play D1, D3? Just go back to if you're loving the game and if you're loving your teammates and being around them and just having that hour practice where you can look forward to it every week. I think just getting the most out of it and just, being the best version of yourself on the ice as a teammate. And if you're loving it, then you can be in my position, or with even more so, you can reach crazy limits. The sky's your limit. You can reach crazy things. And yeah, just going back to the love of doing what, like being on the ice, loving being around people and the game.
And you know what I hear again? This is great. We're going back to it again. Being where your feet are. That's what I hear.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's great advice. And I think that's great life advice. But I think it's really important for an athlete to hear that, because, like you said, there are a lot of stresses. There are, you're thinking it's athlete forward, right? You're always thinking about what's the best place for me to grow my game. But it's also important that you remember to just have fun.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think especially at this level, it is our job and we have to produce. So there's a lot that rides on it, but we play our best when we're just out there being ourselves, having fun. And I think that also gives you the best product too. So yeah, it always comes back to that for me personally, but I think for a lot of other players is just, finding the joy in it. And it gets to be tough. The travel schedule is a lot, you're at all these different arenas and you're not really practicing a ton, but it's just like when you step out there, are you having fun? And yeah, that's just something that I keep going back to.
Love that. Love that. And it's a perfect way or a perfect spot for us to launch or kick into our rapid fire question segment of the show. Now, this is only rapid fire because I'm going to try not to ask any follow-up questions. Please feel free to answer
You can
these.
if you want. I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But I will try my best. I want to know, first of all, are you ready to take this quiz?
I'm ready. Yes.
Perfect. Thank goodness.
I'm locked in.
Yes, perfect. I'm locked in. Okay. First, now this is another one of those fun facts that I discovered about you. Your golf game. Your golf game is pretty legit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a good, I love playing in the summer. I wish I could play more with the weather, but yeah, I love golf. I've grown up around it, and yeah, it's been a blast.
Yeah, and you downplay it because there was a certain Pro-Am tournament that you recently took part in that you were rather successful with. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I ended up staying in Boston this summer, and they were looking for some people to do a Pro-Am event at Boston, one of Boston's courses, with the LPGA tournament coming in and playing there for the weekend. I think it was in July or August. I can't really remember. But they just asked if I wanted to play, and I was like, why not? And I had a blast. I was with a woman from ESPNW and the commissioner of the LPGA. So that was pretty incredible just to be able to walk with them and play alongside some pro LPGA players, and just being kind of getting uncomfortable and, being in that environment was really, really cool. So yeah, I got the chance to play 18 holes there at Boston, and yeah, had so much fun.
And I promise that I'm only asking these follow-up questions because I really want to get to this. Your drive, I heard it was pretty long. How long was your drive?
I honestly don't remember the yardage, but yeah, I think I got lucky on some roll there for anyone who plays golf. A nice bounce, but yeah, it ended up being, I don't know how many yards, but I ended up getting, I think, longest drive for that, and I think the prize was like insoles for your shoes. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty nice. I'll take it.
I love that. Oh, that's good. Longest drive, no big deal. Just kind of, yeah, I like playing golf. I'm casually good at it. I also want to know, what is your go-to pre-game meal, especially being a vegan?
Yes. I knew this was going to come up. Go-to pregame meal, honestly, a big bowl of pasta with olive oil or red sauce, marinara, anything, a salad. And for my protein, I usually do a lot of tofu. So whatever way, trying to make it taste good in the air fryer, some recipes there. But yeah, those are usually I try to eat big, like 4 hours, 5 hours before the game, and then I snack a ton. I'm definitely at the snack table at the rink a lot for our team. But yeah, that's definitely my go-to pregame meal.
Okay, so you kind of alluded to it, but now I need to know. If you don't have to worry about, you're not about to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a relaxing day. You just want to eat some junk food. What's your cheat meal, or what's your cheat snack?
Wow. I love nachos. So I make a vegan version of nachos. So good. That'd be my cheat meal. I really like dark chocolate, so eat a lot of that. Or there's these Trader Joe's swimmers, like sour candies, that are so good. I found them on, I think it was TikTok or something, one of those trends, but they're so yummy. So I eat those a lot too. Those would be my cheat meal.
Just another reason why I wish we had Trader Joe's up here. Although I guess I'm glad that
yes, I know. Sorry for the
rubbing
Canadian
it in.
fans.
Yeah. Do you have any superstitions or pre-game rituals?
Yeah, I have to drink a lot of coffee. So I usually it's kind of crazy. Like I was worse in college. I think my senior year I was nuts. Like I drink like a latte, it was like a double shot, and then have to get something like I'd have to get like an additional if we were playing at like 6 or 7 p.m., which is insane. Like my heart was beating so fast. But now I'll just do like a venti from Starbucks, and sometimes if I need a little pick me up, I'll add an extra shot. So for the Montreal game, like I definitely added a shot because I was like, this is gonna be a big one. So yeah, this past weekend definitely got my caffeine fix in, but yeah, definitely need coffee. And then honestly, I'm not crazy superstitious other than that. Just having, I have to eat during before we go on for warm-ups, like a quick snack. I usually do like fruit snacks or something, and then have a fruit snack or like an applesauce in between each period.
Okay, so that's not bad. But
Yeah.
good news is you've cut back on
Yes.
some of that caffeine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, my mom was like, okay, I don't think this is healthy. And she's a pediatrician. So she was like, yeah,
Take
we
it
gotta
from
cut
me.
back on this. Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious. What would be your go-to pump-up song before a game?
Wow. I have a lot. I listen to so much. Like I listen to rap a lot and hip hop, um, or like
Do you remember what was the
R&B
last one
or
that you?
pop. I
Do you
know.
remember the last one?
Um, Go-to song. Probably like the Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. I think that's like a
Oh,
huge hit now.
yeah.
And our team will listen to that too. So I think that's just like the most popular like rap song at the moment, probably.
Yeah,
Nothing
that's
too
fair.
specific, but yeah, I'll go with
That's
that
still
one.
fine. Okay, well we're locking that one in. Speaking of music, and you just alluded to it, but the dressing room. Who owns the music that's in the dressing room, and does it change? Does it change maybe based
Yes.
on practice
So
or
it's funny you
game?
brought that up. So it was Ratty, and then kind of switched honestly to me. So I've been in charge of music, but we have a joint playlist where like girls can add songs in, and me, Ratty, and Hill have added songs to it. So we're kind of like the main people for games. And then Emma Greco will do for practice. So we kind of rotate, but we have we made a playlist like probably a month or two ago. And yeah, I'll be in charge of, picking most of the songs. So it's a huge honor, and it was so scary at the beginning, but no, we have a lot of fun with it.
Well, I was going to ask how much pressure having that torch from Rattray, or
Yeah,
being
no,
handed
it
that
was
torch from Rattray. How?
yeah, no, yeah, no, it was so funny. It's definitely a lot, but she has some good songs, so it's hard to follow in her footsteps for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that legacy will live on.
Yeah.
For anyone who, for some crazy reason, hasn't seen you play yet, how would you describe your style of play?
I think honestly, like fast and physical. Like I think I say this a lot, but I'm not the biggest player out there. I'm probably the shortest most times, or close to it. But I think, I try to be as fast as I can and bring a quick game that's, trying to be hard to play against, and especially in the D zone. Yeah, trying to get pins, hitting when I can legally. Sometimes I'm in the box, but yeah, I would say fast and physical would be my two words to describe my play.
Hey, nice and succinct. I like that. What's one word that your teammates would use to describe you?
I don't know, because it's gonna sound like I'm hyping myself up, but I
Yep.
would say like fun. Like I don't really take a lot too seriously, and I think it's really important. But honestly, a lot of girls like we just kind of play off each other and just have a good time. Like obviously we lock in when we need to, but um, yeah, just I would say fun. Hopefully, I mean maybe they're describing me as something else, but yeah, just try to have as much fun as we can. Keep it light and fresh in the locker room.
All right. So we've settled on fun and in brackets, hopefully. That's fair.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. That would
Okay.
be a good description.
Okay. Okay. What's something that remains on your bucket list?
Bucket list. I really want to go to Italy. I think that's one of the main ones. So hopefully some summers I can, if I have time off, I can go there and vacation a little bit. I know that's the big trip, but that's always been on my bucket list. And being Italian, I think I've always wanted to go there and experience the culture and the food and everything.
Well, I was going to ask a follow-up question about why Italy, but that makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. So you
Yes.
answered that. You already, you didn't, you
Yes.
said, Chris, I don't need you to ask a follow-up
Yeah. No,
question.
my mom is Italian and grew up eating, my grandparents' food and my grandma making, the sauce and the meatballs and everything. So yeah, I would definitely choose Italy.
Yeah, good pick. And lastly, what's something that people may not know about you? And you can't steal the golf thing. That's why I asked it earlier.
Wow. My go-to for this is that I'm completely vegan. Like that's something that people usually don't know about me. I've been vegan for like 2.5 years now, but vegetarian for like 6. So it kind of started when I was in college. That and also just to add on, like I love to cook. Like cooking is my favorite thing. Just trying new recipes and making healthy dishes, but also trying to make, things vegan that like the sweets or desserts and stuff like that. So definitely happy we have some, home games in our schedule now coming down the stretch so I can get my cooking in. But yeah, definitely being vegan and cooking.
Okay. I know I said that was the last question, but I do have a follow-up.
Yes.
For especially being an athlete, how
Yeah.
have you found the transition? Obviously, being a vegetarian for a while
hmm
helped, but the transition to being vegan, but still being able to maintain, what you have to
Yes.
maintain as an athlete.
Yeah, it's definitely again, I think because I am passionate about cooking and trying new things and will take the time to kind of prepare stuff, I think that definitely helps me with fueling my body. And I mean, for any athlete and any pro um, person at the pro level, like health and nutrition is so important. And I think that you have to take the time to, fuel your body right. So just it adds a little bit to it. Lucky enough to, I share it with my mom. My mom loves to cook. She is also vegan too. We kind of did it together. And so we'll share recipes back and forth. So I have her to go through it with and to cook with and kind of bounce back ideas. So yeah, I think it just took a little bit more prep. And when we have the time, I just love to sit down and make a whole bunch for the week so that it helps me when, the schedule gets a little crazy. And yeah, it just definitely takes some prep.
Right. Well, I love that. And I've loved this conversation. And Sid, I cannot appreciate you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule, out of this season to chat with me. It's been an honor. And thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much. This is a blast. I appreciate it, Chris.
Good. I'm so glad. And for Sid Bard, I'm Chris Sinclair, and this has been Rinkside Rundown. Cheers.